Picture this. Constantinople, 1034. You are a silk merchant named Dioskaros, 53 years old. You have walked the trade routes between Constantinople and Alexandria for 3 decades. Your wife, Marina, runs a small workshop near the Forum of Constantine, where 6 women turn raw silk into finished cloth. You are paid in gold. Specifically, in the Solidus, the most trusted coin the world has ever known. The Solidus was struck at the same weight, 4.5 grams of nearly pure gold. 24 carats, since the Emperor Constantine introduced it over 700 years ago. 7 centuries. No currency in recorded history has held its standard anywhere close to that. Merchants in India accept it without hesitation. Vikings in Scandinavia hoard it like sacred objects. Arab traders weigh it and find it true, every time. You keep your wealth in a strong box at home. 412 solidi, accumulated over a lifetime of careful work. You do not trust banks. You do not need to. The coin is the wealth. It requires no institution to validate it. 4.5 grams of gold is 4.5 grams of gold. Whether the emperor who stamped it is living or buried. Marina asks you once if you're worrying about the future. You tell her, the Solidus has been the same coin since before my grandfather's grandfather was born. What is there to worrying about? Now watch what happens. Within 50 years, less than a single lifetime, the gold content of the coin you trust will fall from 24 carats to roughly 8. Within 80 years, it will contain almost no gold at all. The most stable currency in human history will lose more than 90% of its intrinsic value. Not through a sudden collapse. Not through a decree on a Saturday morning. Through a slow, deliberate, generation by generation shaving of the gold content by successive emperors who need to pay soldiers they cannot afford. This is the Fiscal Historian. And this is the oldest version of every story we will ever tell on this channel. The Solidus was born in 309 AD, when Constantine I reformed the Roman monetary system. He fixed it at 72 coins struck from 1 Roman pound of gold, roughly 4.5 grams per coin, at a fineness of about 98%. Previous emperors had debased the aureus, the older gold standard, again and again. Constantine drew a line. The Solidus would be different. For 7 centuries, it was. The coin circulated so widely, it became the anchor of international trade across the entire medieval world. Archaeologists have found Byzantine solidi in Scandinavian burial mounds, in Indian temple hoards, along the Silk Road in Central Asia, in sub-Saharan Africa. The English word soldier comes from solidus, because that is how soldiers were paid. The Italian soldo, the French sou, both descendants of the same coin. When Arab merchants in the 8th century needed a trustworthy gold standard, they modeled their dinar on the weight and fineness of the solidus. When Charlemagne reformed Frankish coinage, the solidus was his reference point. For 700 years, if you held a solidus, you held something every merchant from the Irish Sea to the Indian Ocean would accept without question. Dioskaros does not think of this as history. He thinks of it as life. Every transaction he has completed, every bolt of silk he has paid for, every debt he has settled, all in solidi. The coin is the foundation of his world. The trouble begins in 1034. The year a former money changer ascends the throne. Michael IV had spent his career handling coins, weighing them, assessing them, knowing precisely what they contained. He becomes emperor, and he knows 2 things equally well: what a solidus is worth, and that the treasury is running short. The empire is pressed on every front. The Normans are encroaching in southern Italy. The Seljuk Turks are probing the eastern frontier. Maintaining an army costs money the tax base cannot supply. So Michael does what desperate rulers have done since the Roman Republic. He reduces the gold content of the coin and mints more of them. The reduction under Michael IV is subtle. Perhaps a carat or 2. Most merchants would not catch it without a touchstone. Dioskaros catches it. He has handled coins for 30 years. He can feel the difference. The coin is fractionally lighter, fractionally less bright. He says nothing publicly, but he begins quietly to separate his older coins from his newer ones. This is Gresham's law and one of its oldest documented forms. Bad money drives out good. When debased coins circulate alongside full-weight coins, rational people spend the bad ones and hoard the good. Dioskaros spends Michael's coins. He keeps Constantine's. Under Constantine IX, ruling from 1042 to 1055, the reduction becomes unmistakable. Gold content drops from 24 carats to roughly 21. The coin is still gold, still heavy, still bright, but it is no longer what it was. foreign merchants begin to notice. An Arab trader in Alexandria who has accepted solidi at face value for 20 years now weighs them before every transaction. The newer coins are light. He demands a premium to extra solidi per transaction to compensate for the debasement. Dioscaros absorbs the cost. He has no choice. The alternative is to stop trading entirely. Under Constantine X, 1059 to 1067, the gold content falls to approximately 18 carats, 3/4 of the original standard. The coin now has a visibly different color, more coppery, less lustrous. Venetian and Genoese merchants, who have been building their own trade networks, begin demanding payment in their own silver rather than Byzantine gold. The shift is gradual, but it is real. In 1071, the Battle of Manzikert changes everything. Emperor Romanos IV leads the Byzantine army east against the Seljuk Turks under Alp Arslan in Anatolia. The Byzantines are routed. Romanos is captured, the first Roman emperor taken prisoner by a Muslim force. The defeat opens Anatolia, the empire's primary source of soldiers and tax revenue, to permanent Turkish settlement. The military crisis accelerates the monetary crisis. Emperors need more coins to pay more soldiers to defend shrinking borders. They cannot mine more gold, so they dilute what they have. Under Nicephorus III, 1078 to 1081, the gold content falls to roughly 8 carats, 1/3 of Constantine's original standard. Dioscaros is dead by now, but Marina's grandson, let us call him Theodoros, is working in the same workshop, trading the same silk routes. He holds coins that look nothing like the ones in his grandfather's strongbox. The old coins, the heavy, bright ones that Dioscaros hoarded, they are worth 2 or 3 times the new ones by weight. Anyone who kept them preserved their wealth. Anyone who spent them and accepted the debased coins in return watched their purchasing power erode with every successive reign. In 1081, Alexios I takes the throne. The nomisma, the coin that was the Solidus, now contains almost no gold at all. A copper coin with a thin gold wash. In less than 50 years, successive emperors have destroyed a currency that had held its standard for 7 centuries. Alexius's daughter, the historian Anna Komnene, documents the era in her chronicle, the Alexiad. She describes a bankrupt government, an unreliable army, an empty treasury. The debasement that each emperor believed would solve an immediate problem has made every problem worse. Foreign merchants demand higher premiums. Tax revenues fall because the coins collected are worth less. Soldiers demand more coins for the same service because each coin buys less. The spiral feeds on itself. In 1092, Alexios introduces a new coin, the hyperpyron, at roughly 20 carats, a partial restoration, but the damage to trust is permanent. The Venetians and Genoese who now dominate Mediterranean trade have built their own monetary systems. The Byzantine gold standard, the anchor of international commerce for 700 years, never recovers its former status. Here is why this story matters to you. Watching right now, the Solidus maintained its standard for approximately 725 years, from 309 to 1034. During that entire period, if you held a Solidus, you held a fixed quantity of gold. Your wealth did not depend on the honesty of the current emperor or the solvency of the current treasury. It depended on the physical weight of the metal in your hand. The debasement took roughly 50 years to destroy 90% of that value, 50 years, within a single lifetime. Dioscaros to Theodoros, the most stable currency in human history, went from 24 carats to essentially nothing. Now consider this. The United States dollar has had no gold backing since August 15, 1971, when Richard Nixon closed the gold window. That is 55 years ago. The dollar has lost approximately 87% of its purchasing power since that date. The Solidus, backed by gold for 725 years, stripped of 90% of its value in 50. The dollar, backed by nothing for 55 years, already down 87%. The speed is nearly identical. The mechanism is the same. An empire overextends its military commitments. Tax revenue cannot cover the cost. The government debases the currency, in Byzantium by shaving gold, in America by printing dollars. The purchasing power of ordinary people's savings erodes. Foreign trading partners notice and demand premiums or alternative systems. The process accelerates. The Michael IV of our era is every central banker who says inflation is transitory. The Battle of Manzikert of our era is every war that costs more than the treasury can bear. The Venetians and Genoese of our era are every nation quietly building trade infrastructure that bypasses the dollar. The pattern is not new. It is over 1,000 years old. The only thing that changes is the name on the coin. Here is what saved Dioscaros, and what Theodoros learned too late: the old coins. The ones Dioscaros separated the moment he felt the difference. The ones he kept in the bottom of the strong box while spending the debased ones. Gratian's law applied not as economic theory, but as personal survival. Spend the bad money. Save the good money. The instinct that drives someone today to hold gold and hard assets is 1,000 years old. A Byzantine silk merchant did the same thing with his strong box. The people who came through the debasement with their wealth intact recognized the pattern. Early, before the new standard became the only standard available, Dioscaros felt it in 1034. He acted. Theodoros grew up with debased coins. He never held the originals. He did not know what full-weight gold felt like. He had no baseline. He accepted what he was given because it was all he had ever known. That is the danger of gradual debasement. Not that it happens, but that each generation accepts a lower standard as normal because they have never experienced the original. $1 in 1971 bought what roughly $7.40 buys today. No emperor held a press conference to announce the reduction. The Federal Reserve expanded the money supply from approximately $600 billion in 1971 to over $21 trillion by 2025. Each expansion solved an immediate problem: a recession, a financial crisis, a pandemic. None of it was intended to destroy the currency. The purchasing power fell anyway. The Solidus took 50 years to lose 90%. The dollar has taken 55 years to lose 87%. The only meaningful difference is that Constantine stamped his debasement on the face of a coin, where a merchant could weigh it. The Federal Reserve publishes its debasement in spreadsheets that almost no one reads. The question is not whether your currency will be debased. The question is whether you have held the original long enough to feel the difference.